Hello everybody and welcome to another video. This one is going to be a little different. Obviously if you're watching this, hopefully, around the time it went up, this is the weekend of Adepticon and hence the weekend of Crystal Brush. So just a quick note on Crystal Brush. It is one of the premier painting competitions in the United States. It's held in Schaumburg, Illinois at the Adepticon Miniature Convention. It's a great show put on by Jen Haley and many others through Cool Mini or Not. And every year what happens is the judges review all the pieces that have been entered into the competition and select a group to go up for online voting, because one of the things that sets Crystal Brush apart is that the winners of the individual categories, there are 3 in each category, are chosen 50% by the judges' scoring and 50% by your votes at home. So what follows here are the pieces that were selected by the judges of mine to be finalists. And I kind of wanted to walk through them and give you my thoughts on them. And if you're inclined to go vote for either them or any other pieces, the link will be down in the description for you to go vote. I certainly don't expect you to go vote for me and me alone or anything like that. I really just wanted to share the background on my pieces that got selected so you understood, kind of my thoughts on what I have, and encourage you to go check out all the beautiful artwork and give some votes, make your voice heard. There's so many great miniature painters who submitted wonderful, wonderful pieces this year. So just wanted to raise the awareness and ask you to go vote. So let's take a look at what I've got this year. All right, so this is A Red Day Dawns, and this is the War Queen from Games Workshop. This was a very fun piece. I kind of had the idea for this from the moment I saw this piece, this miniature spoiled. I knew this is what I wanted to do. I just had the image of her coming down from the Chaos Wastelands, the sort of red background, the free hand on her cape and stuff like that, which isn't in this image, but it's there. As usual, I spend a lot of time on free hand, and then she stands in a position that you can't even see it. But that's all right. So this was a lot of sort of interesting fun to do because I got to play around with different textures and damage. I love things like chaos miniatures and stuff like that because they don't need to be gleaming or perfect. They're allowed to have chipped axes and chipped shields and stuff like that. They're allowed to have a little bit of wear and tear and dust things because these are warriors born and bred who fight for the dark powers of the chaos gods. The River of Blood I thought would be a fun thing to break the fourth wall. As I've got that kind of, bubbling and spilling over the edge, I thought that'd be a fun little trick to kind of push that over the edge there. Just to kind of play with the plane of the miniature and where she lives versus the normal universe. Obviously, the quote itself is misappropriated here to a slightly different context, as this originally comes from Lord of the Rings, but hey, why not? So all in all, this was a lot of fun to paint. I really loved this mini. Working with non-metallic steel was a lot of fun here, especially playing with the damage on the axe and on the shield, etc. It really is just a super fun mini. I was thrilled with this. All of the recent Heralds are actually super fun to paint. So I was very happy to paint this and thrilled to see that it got selected to go in for voting. So there you go. Also the background. I love doing backgrounds on minis. You're going to see several here, but the backgrounds are always just a fun thing for me to set the universe. And I wanted to do that red sky of the sort of chaos wastes in the north, that kind of thing. So this piece is called On the Hunt, and this is in the sci-fi category, obviously, although the miniature was originally actually fantasy. This comes out of the... this is the body of this is Knave Blacktalon, who was a Stormcast hero, like the first female Stormcast mini they released. But when I saw her, I saw an Inquisitor. It just sort of immediately occurred to me. And so I went and swapped it out for, swapped her around, different head, different weapons, stuff like that. Made a few other very small changes to add like the purity seals and things of that nature. And I wanted to have a scene where she was leaping sort of very aggressively from this old ruined building down, after her prey. I wanted to give the illusion of her being in motion as she's chasing after something. This was also a chance to do pink, like high reflective, non-metallic pink armor, which is always one of my favorite color schemes to work in. I love sort of the bright pink, especially against the blue of the plasma and the power sword. This was a lot of fun to play with the different color schemes and to create the subtle light in the shadowing of the building below, the very sort of minor OSL touch and stuff like that. All in all, I was really... I dig this conversion. I had a good time putting her together, and I think that all in all, I was trying to capture a particular moment, a particular sort of like narrative second that was happening as she goes after, her prey. Maybe it's like some kind of tyrannid that's on the run or something like that is what I had kind of pictured. She's hunting down. So I thought this was a good chance to sort of explore that. And I love one of the fun things about doing 40K minis is that you can do old abandoned, urban terrain, which is always fun for me. I love broken up, rusty, crusty buildings, and I think they just make a fantastic setting for 40K figures. So I was very happy to have this one selected for voting. This is my group for the unit competition, and this is PRISS and the Replicants, which I'll see if you can know what I'm referencing there or not. I won't give it away. But this is obviously Clan Escher, or House Escher, whatever. It's the Escher gang from Necromunda. And so these girls are just fantastic. I love the 80s neon punk rock type of aesthetic. And so as soon as I saw that when they were re-releasing Necromunda and that Escher was going to be one of the first ones up, I, immediately reached out to my store and said, yep, pre-order these for me. I know I'm going to want them as soon as they're available. Because I love this sort of style, the over-the-top hair, the over-the-top clothing and stuff like that. And so when I got them, the way I saw this particular Escher gang was they had actually been replacing part of themselves with cybernetics. I wanted that sort of Shadowrun kind of feel to it. And so, you can see that each of the models are changed. I replaced their swords and mixed them together with one of the Adeptus Mechanicus 40K kits to give them, cybernetic limbs and arms, legs, etc. Because I thought the more they fight in this dirty, awful underhive, the more that they would slowly lose their humanity as, grievous, horrible wounds would happen, and they would need to replace them with mechanical parts. So I tried to intermix those throughout. So you see some of them have, legs or cyber arms or whatever. And then at the same time, it was a great chance to just go completely over the top with the color scheme. This is, to me, the 80s color scheme of the bright neon fluorescent pink, blue, and purples that just scream to me, 1980s. It's just sort of that pure Miami neon. At the same time, I wanted the background to be rather muted and rusted, and I tried to work some pinks and stuff into it. There's obviously the blues and some of the energy in the windows in the background. If you can't see it at this angle, but down in the grating there are pinks and blues, but they're desaturated where they're used on tubes and stuff that's down in the grating. But this was a fun chance to set a scene and a little narrative, and I really liked building out this unit into its setting here, into the Underhive. This was just such a fun group to put together. These girls are wonderful to paint. I would highly recommend, if you love sort of painting over the top bright colors and things like this, I would so highly recommend you pick up some of the Escher gang minis. They are incredibly great. Wonderful, wonderful minis. Some of my favorite from GW in a long time. So this piece is Redemption, and you can actually see the full story of this piece and all the techniques I used in the hobby cheating video that I published earlier today as well. So if you're curious about that one, you can go look for even more detail there. But the long and short of this piece is, I wanted to tell the story of the pilot of a penitent engine that actually succeeds so much that she is redeemed, but has gotten so used to fighting in this style that they, as a reward, salvage a Knight Titan and allow her to pilot the Knight Titan in the same way that she would have classically piloted her penitent engine. So out there in the front, hooked into it, the same exact sort of piloting mechanism. So I knew I wanted to have the Knight Titan be in the same position, be armed the same. So, the gun in the right hand, or the sword in the left, and to have that be mimicking as though how she's moving is how the machine is moving as well, right? Because she is effectively in control of the machine. Her movements, her hand swings, her gunshots mimic what happens with the machine itself. And I called it, obviously, Redemption, because I wanted to capture the image of this sort of redeemed canoness who had committed some grievous sin, but then proven her faith in the Emperor and was eventually restored and given this powerful machine of war. This is a project that I had and knew I wanted to do for a really, really long time. It had sort of been bouncing around in my head for almost a year, and I was thrilled when I finally got to put it together and to bring this to fruition. This was probably the biggest project I've ever done. This clocked in at around 150-ish hours for everything, but it was honestly fun the whole way through. I loved it. I love doing these Knight Titans, and I couldn't be more thrilled that this was put up for final vote. So that brings us to the end. That's all of the pieces that were in there that got put up for voting. As I said, the link to vote is down in the description. I would love it if you voted, not only for me, but for others. As usual, just check it out. There's so much amazing stuff in there. I find it incredibly inspiring to look at all the great submissions from everybody. I know it pushes me harder to see everything else and makes me want to try new things and always be reaching for the next step on my own personal hobby journey. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your support of my channel and of everything that I do. I appreciate all of it. And as always, I thank you for watching this, and we'll see you next time.